Hi there. Welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today we're toning the lower viscera and stimulating the endocrine system, fashioning a beautiful mood mellowing workout. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, and rest as often as need be. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class coming into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Make your way down onto the hands and the knees with a little bit more room behind you to play. So set yourself up towards the top end of the mat. Find a stack of your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Don't sink into the mat. Push the floor away. Look for a beautiful tabletop line and focus on your lower belly for the next exercise. Relax your belly button. Let it gravitate or balloon towards the floor and then pull the belly button in. You're going to rinse and repeat. So it's not a big movement. You're not going to see much movement happening. You're just relaxing that lower belly and then you're sucking it up. Try to keep that long tabletop line. So the line of your back is not moving. It's just the lower belly that's relaxing and then contracting. Keep pushing the mat away with your hands and don't drop your head through the tabletop line. So try to give me a long line through the neck and the head and the spine. We're going to do 2 more. Then maintaining that long neckline and your tabletop back, you're going to take a big breath in, starting with your gaze between your 2 thumbs. On an exhale, you're going to look over the left shoulder for your bum bone. Pause. Feel a nice little bit of a tug into the obliques. Come back to the center line and peek over the right shoulder. Come back to center. Peek left. Keep that tabletop line and try to maintain that pull in of the lower belly as you're playing with this exercise. So taking our first exercise one step further and activating not only into the lower belly, but also into the obliques. Alternating, looking over one shoulder at a time, pausing as you look towards the back corner of your mat, not rushing, giving the lower viscera, the lower belly, a chance to work. Peel your way back to center. And let's bleed into some cat-cows. Take a big breath in, hollowing out your back, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling, stretching into the lower belly and into that skin just below your chin. Then on an exhale, come through neutral spine, round out your back, hollow out your belly, stretch into the lower back and the shoulders. And then begin moving dynamically between the 2 frames. Today, we're playing at a 1-to-1 inhalation to exhalation ratio for your cat-cow. Make this your last round, and then we're going to change our orientation on the mat slightly. You're going to swing your right foot out to the side of the room, and you're going to stack yourself in a half camel line, stepping your left foot out to the side of the room, using your left palm to gently prise the left knee open, placing your right hand in your lower back, either fingertips down or fingertips up. You're going to support your lower back as you come into a gentle camel curve, keeping your hips softly stacked over your knees as you take a supported back bend, looking up to the ceiling. Then nod your chin to your chest and use your camel frame to find a modified gait. You're going to lean down towards your stepped out leg and you're going to tap the floor with your fingertips and then reach tall and stretch that leg, making a little gait and start playing dynamically between the two frames. Reaching for the floor and then reaching for the sky so that you're working on the obliques. Keep belly to spine as you're playing and just give yourself a couple of repetitions, looking for length through the arms, both as you tap the floor and as you reach for the sky on the diagonal. Last one, then we're going to retrace our path back to 4-point kneeling. Set up your 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Find your tabletop line. We're going to stretch opposite arm and leg. Let's do left leg, right arm coming into extension. Just give me a nice long line and hold it for roughly 10 seconds, looking for a long line through the arm, the neck, the back, and the leg. Keep looking for that length through the body. And then focus on your 2 floating limbs. Tap them simultaneously to the mat and back to the tabletop position. Not coming through the tabletop line, so try not to give me too much of a bow shape on the back, rather focusing on stopping the arm and the leg when they're more or less in line with the shoulder and the hip. The last one, end in your tabletop line and rotate your palm so that it's looking down towards the floor. We're going to work a dynamic hovering bird dog. On the exhale, you're going to bring the knee and the palm back into table, but you're going to hover them off the floor. And on the inhale, you're going to float back to your tabletop position. Exhale. As you hover, inhale to come back into extension. Try to stop when the 2 palms are alongside each other and the 2 knees are alongside each other. So you're not coming through the tabletop line. You're using your core to control that hand movement and the leg movement. Let's do 4 more. Keep that long tabletop line. Last one. Come back to 4-point kneeling. Take a big breath in and float the left arm up to the sky. Just take a little stretch here, looking for a T-frame. Forge a long T-frame between the 2 arms. We're going to thread the needle from here. On an active exhale, you're going to thread the left arm underneath the right arm, but try to keep your hips stacked over your knees as you thread through. And come to rest on the side of your head. Pausing here for a moment. Try to find that inner thigh and that lower abdominal connection by pretending you're squeezing a yoga block between the 2 thighs. And then pull a zip from your pubic bone towards your belly button line and think of hiking up your bum as high as you can. Now focus on your arms. Creep your right arm towards the top end of the mat. Creep it away from you as far as you can, almost clawing through the fingertips. And then think of reaching out through both sets of hands. Reach your fingertips as tall as you can. Then keep your threaded hand where it is and float the left arm up to the ceiling, reaching as tall as you can, as if you wanted to tap the sky. Keep your inner thighs active. Keep that pull up from the pelvic floor active. Then bend the arm that's looking up to the ceiling. Tuck it behind your back. Rotate the palm in, reaching for the opposite hip. Try to get as much rotation on the top shoulder as you can. Gently trying to peek up towards the ceiling, keeping your inner thighs active and playing with that little pull up from the pelvic floor. Unwrap yourself, retrace your path back to 4-point kneeling on the mat. Then bleed up from here into a high kneeling line with your shoulders, your hips, and your knees stacked. Tuck your toes under. Make sure that your feet are stacking behind your knees and that you're not pigeon-toeing out or in. You're going to give me a little dynamic camel lean, starting with your palms softly relaxed on the top of your thighs. Dip off the center line, floating the hands up in line with your shoulders. Pause before slowly coming back to your start position. You're shooting here for a nice long line from your kneecaps through the line of the top of your thighs, through the lower belly. Pausing before you softly float back up. So you're really feeling that work into the lower abdominal cavity. Thinking belly to spine as you dip off the center line in your camel lean. Let's do 2 more. And then we'll come into a little camel line from here. Place both hands in your lower back, either fingertips down or fingertips up, whichever you feel most comfortable with today. Keep your toes tucked under, or you can relax the feet on the mat behind you. You're going to find a gentle camel line, bumping your hips forward, trying to keep your hips stacked softly over your knees, coming into a gentle back bend, supporting the back on both sides this time. Breathing nice and deeply as you can into the front and the side of your ribs as you take a beautiful little camel stretch here. Then relax your feet, come into a high kneeling stack as you drop the arms at your side, nodding your chin to your chest. Float the 2 knees together and the feet together and sit back on your heels. Taking a nice little stretch here, maybe floating both hands behind you to make a little interlace. Squeeze the 2 shoulder blades together as you try to fist the hands and gently knuckle the wall behind you. Then uninterlace the hands and slip off your feet so that you're resting alongside your feet on your right bum bone. If this feels uncomfortable, maybe take a yoga block, or you could take a pillow and just slip it, or place your prop alongside your feet and then slip the weight off your feet and sit your right bum bone into your prop. As you slip off the feet, rotate your trunk to look towards your left leg. Reach for your left ankle with your left hand, and then maybe float your right arm over as well to just reach for the outer quadrant of your left thigh, and just gently look over the left shoulder for a few soft breaths. Then keep the left hand where it is and try to tuck the right arm behind your back. Maybe just keeping your tuck loose and just popping the hand behind you, or maybe reaching with the fingertips for the left bicep, and then find a little bind here and keep looking over the left shoulder. All of the weight is in that right bum bone, and you're feeling quite an awesome stretch into the right side of your rib cage, bleeding into the lower belly area. Keep your bind if you can, and gently float your head in the opposite direction so that you're now peeping over the right shoulder. Pause here, trying to see if you can find additional length in the spine. Keep your lower belly pulled into center. Think of that very first exercise that we did when we were relaxing and sucking in the lower belly. I want you to suck that lower belly in. Then bring your chin line back to neutral. Unbind the hands from behind you. Place your right hand on the floor to support your frame and step the left foot over the right knee. Just wiggle the right foot out the way so that you can now ground both of your bum bones into the mat. We're going to stretch towards the open side first. So take your left arm, place the left elbow on the inside of the left knee. Press the knee away as you gently rotate to look over the right shoulder towards the back edge of the mat. Try to keep your whole front foot, that left foot, totally grounded into the mat so that you've got weight into the big toe, the baby toe, and the heel of your foot. If you need to, you can knife edge that front foot if grounding it is not possible. Then let's take the twist in the opposite direction, twisting towards your front leg. This time you're going to hook the right elbow on the outside of the left knee. You're going to lengthen through the fingertips as if you were trying to reach past the edge of your mat. And you're going to use the fingertips of the left hand to just prop your spine up as tall as you can. Try to get a sense of trying to ground through both bum bones so that you're feeling an awesome stretch into the back of your hamstrings and into the glutes on the left leg. Pause here. And then untwist your trunk and focus on your right foot that's literally wrapped around your left bum cheek. You're going to try to tuck that heel in closer towards the perineum so that you can sit your bum cheeks around your foot. Either stay here with both sets of fingertips on the mat, just grounding through your front foot, or maybe knife edging the foot and trying to hug it into center, or you can try to wrap yourself into a half lotus line from here, reaching for that front foot, tucking the heel in as close towards the opposite hip bone as you can, and just taking a little pause here, resting both hands on the top of your thighs and trying to find a comfortable seat. Take a big breath in and let's twist to the right, reaching opposite hand, so left hand to the outside of the right thigh and taking a gentle twist. Inhale and come back to center and take the twist in the opposite direction, reaching opposite hand to thigh, maybe using your other hand on the floor, or maybe reaching for the opposite hip and cupping both hips or both thighs. Just play with it. Keep belly button to spine, so activating once more into the lower belly, pulling into center. Then unbind and find your way from here into a seated frame at the top end of the mat. Wiggle your legs up, finding your way into a high seat. We are going to roll it down, so place a little bit of padding in your lower back if you need it, and we'll play up the roll down today. We'll begin with a bent leg. Bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet, and sit up nice and tall, floating your hands out in front of you so that your arms are more or less shoulder width apart. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, nod your chin to your chest, look down towards your belly button, peel down one vertebra at a time, floating your hands softly overhead, but not dropping them to the floor. Inhale, come up just off the shoulders as if you wanted to reach past your knees, but took a pause. Then use the rest of your exhale to bleed back up into your seated frame. Let's do 2 more from this position. Nod your chin to your chest. Make sure that you're using your core and your spine to peel down with control. Inhale, halfway lift just off the shoulders. Root through your feet, squeeze through the inner thighs, bleed back up to your start position. 1 more like this, then we're going to begin working with an extended parallel leg line. As you bleed back up, brace into your heels. Nice and slowly come into an extended leg line. Nod your chin to your chest, peel down with control, 1 vertebra at a time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to squeeze through the inner thighs, root through your feet and come back to a nice tall stack. Last one. We're going to morph into a V leg line from here, floating the 2 heels together and allowing for a soft V shape between the feet. Don't claw through your feet, but try to lengthen through the toes as you squeeze through the inner thighs to peel back down 1 vertebra at a time, floating the hands overhead. Inhale, halfway lift just off the shoulders. Squeeze through the inner thighs, reach through your toes, maybe take a soft little forward fold. Last one, big breath in. Nod your chin to your chest, peel down, using your inner thighs, using your core, using your spine to come down with control. Inhale, halfway lift just off the shoulders. Exhale to reach through your fingertips and your toes and take a soft little forward fold. Then give me 1 more roll down just to connect to the mat. And if you do have padding underneath the back, as soon as you've connected your lower back, just bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet, slip your padding out, but make sure it's close at hand so you can reach for it when you need it. Come back to your turnout position that you had, but then open up the legs wider so that your toes are looking over the edge of your mat, almost as if you were coming into a Shavasana-like position. And open up the arms so that your hands are looking past the top corners of your mat. So your body almost looks like a little star. You're going to start in a neutral spine position and then take a big breath in. Tilt your pelvis to 12 o'clock. See if you can give me a sort of hollow hold, scooping your whole body to hover your arms, your legs, and your head off the mat. Exhale, suck into a little ball and come back into your hovering hold. You're going to try to do that a few times. Last one, find your hovering star hold. Core braced, lower belly imprinted into the mat, head and shoulders off the mat. Then drop down into a bridge setup, bending your knees and connecting the soles of the feet and placing the arms at your side. Begin in neutral spine. Take a big breath in, tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position, imprint your lower back, find that lower belly connection, and start articulating up slowly. One vertebra at a time brings you up, hips coming up nice and evenly towards the ceiling. At the apex of your bridge, tuck the two shoulder blades in, activate your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads. We're going to play with a little dip through the hips. Dip your right hip bone lower than your left. Pause, come back to neutral. Dip your left hip bone, come back to neutral. Dip both together, giving me a halfway drop and come back to neutral. Dip right, neutral. Dip left, neutral. Dip both together, neutral. Dip right, neutral. Dip left, neutral. Dip both together, back to neutral. Then articulate back down, one vertebra at a time. As soon as you find your way into neutral spine, scoop to peel up off the shoulders, hovering your arms, finding a nice contraction in the core, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep that scoop position as you float your left leg into table, maybe softly bracing around the shins, and extend the right leg to 75. Then begin cycling through, bending one leg, almost hugging it in towards your nose, while extending the other leg gently at about a 75-degree angle as if you wanted to tap the wall. Give me 4, 3, 2, last one. Drop down onto your head and your shoulders. Drop the arms on the side or tuck your hands underneath your bottom. Float your legs softly up towards the ceiling. Drop halfway down, bend the knees and cycle back up. You're going to play with that halfway drop and then cycle back up. Trying to use your lower belly as you drop the legs down before cycling back in. Let's do 4, 3, 2, last one. You're going to place both hands behind your head in a surrender-like fashion. Scoop to peel up off the shoulders. Bend your left leg, extend the right. And then on the diagonal, think opposite armpit to knee. Keep cycling through on the legs. Bending one leg, extending the other, as you give me a little crisscross pattern through the trunk. Not forcing the elbow and the knee to tap, but just giving me a nice rotation on the diagonal through the trunk. 2 more sets. We'll come back into our active recovery, dropping the arms and the head to the mat, floating the legs up to the ceiling, bracing into your feet, halfway drop, or maybe this time all the way down before you cycle back up. Just hovering those feet maybe just off the floor. If your back is not liking that wider range of motion, just stay with the smaller range that we played with in round 1. So pick your poison, use those lower abdominals, keep your head and your shoulders connected to the mat, arms are long and lengthened at your side, palms down, Or maybe you've elected to tuck the hands underneath your bottom for support. Last one. End with the legs at the 90 position. Scoop to peel up off your shoulders, reaching behind your left thigh, and start scissoring the legs open, either giving me a small range of motion or maybe a bigger range of motion. Trying to keep that scooped frame. So you've hollowed out your belly, you've imprinted your lower and your mid back, your weight is off the shoulders, and you've got about 2 fingers of air between the chin and the chest. The last one. Draw back to your resting position, bracing into your feet, halfway drop, and then cycle back up to the ceiling. Do you know where you're going to now? Look for that control through the lower abdominals. Last one. End in a tabletop position, scoop to peel up off the shoulders, bracing just below your knees. Open up the arms and the legs into V, and then tuck back in. Stay here or add a little arm swim or scoop before you tuck back in. The whole time you're trying to keep that scooped frame on the mat. So your lower back is imprinted, weight is off the shoulders, 2 fingers of air between the chin and the chest, and your core is working really hard. Last one. We're going to end in that little tuck. Reconnect your head and your shoulders to the mat. Give yourself a cradle rock, side to side. And then we're going to roll like a ball, keeping your brace around the shins or maybe behind the thighs as you rock the body up and down, hollowing out your back, or rather hollowing out your belly, rounding out your back. And then maybe change, cross at the ankles, hold on to your feet as you rock up and down. You're going to use this little foothold to find your way back to 4-point kneeling. Rock the weight forward over your knees and then step your legs back one at a time to come back to your 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Find your stack. Make sure you've got enough room to play behind you. You're going to find that long tabletop line. Gaze down on the mat. Relax your lower belly and then suck it in. Relax your lower belly. Suck it in. Try to keep your neck and your back line as long as you can and try to keep the work in the lower belly area. Add a progression to this exercise. End by sucking in the belly. Look over your left shoulder. Pause. Come back to center. Suck in the belly. Look over your right shoulder. Pause. Come back to center and relax the belly. Rinse and repeat. So to activate the exercise, you start by sucking in the lower belly and then peeping over one shoulder. When you come back to neutral, you relax the belly. Don't rush so that you're finding first that lower belly connection before you activate the obliques to look over your shoulder. Let's do one more to each side. And then let's bring it into cat-cow. Inhale to prepare, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling, hollowing out your back. Then on the exhale, round out your back, hollow out your belly, stretch into the shoulders and the lower back, and start oscillating dynamically between the two frames, playing at a 1-to-1 inhalation to exhalation ratio today. Using it to stretch into the back and get that activation into the lower belly area. We're going to set up a half camel line on the right from here. Into the tabletop line, float your left leg out, stepping up the right leg. My back is going to be towards you. You're going to use your right hand to push the right knee open. You're going to float your left hand into your lower back, either fingertips down or fingertips up. And you're going to come into your half camel, giving me a slight crescent shape through the back. So you're trying to hollow out the belly, hollow out the back, stretch into the lower belly while prizing that left knee, or rather the right knee open. Then stack nice and tall. Drop your arms at your side and just lengthen through the spine. Focus on your stepped out leg, your half camel leg. You're going to reach past those toes towards the back edge of the mat, maybe tapping the mat with both sets of fingertips. And then come into a high gate line, extending that leg, reaching in the opposite direction, and begin to play dynamically between the two frames. So you're bending and extending the back leg. As you bend the back leg, you tap both sets of fingertips to the floor, and then take a little stretch on the diagonal, reaching in the opposite direction as you extend the back leg and reach past your shoulders towards the ceiling on the opposite side. Let's do one more, and then we'll bleed our way from here back into 4-point kneeling on the mat. We're going to stretch opposite arm and leg. Let's do left leg, left arm, right leg coming into extension. Just look for that long line, not collapsing into the mat, so pushing the mat away, looking for that line through the arm, the neck, and the leg. Then when you're ready, tap your floating limbs to the mat, and then bleed seamlessly back into your tabletop position. Looking for that length through the neck and the spine. End in your tabletop position and rotate your palm to look down at the floor. We're going to work that modified hovering bird dog. Inhale to come into extension, and on the exhale, think of floating back to your tabletop position, but hovering the palm and the knee just off the floor. So you need quite a lot of control through the core to be able to control the arm and the leg and stop when the two palms are alongside each other and the two knees are alongside each other. So don't come through that tabletop line. Come back to 4-point kneeling. Take a big breath in. Float the right arm up to the ceiling. So the arm that was working hard to stabilize, reach it up to the sky and take a little T stretch. Pause. And then on the exhale, thread through. Once you've threaded through, pause here on the side of your head. Try to find that stack of your hips over your knees. Squeeze the inner thighs in together as if you were squeezing into a yoga block. And then creep your left hand towards the top end of the mat and take a little stretch. Reach long through both sets of hands. Make a little L frame between the hands. Then the hand that's at the top end of your mat, float that up towards the ceiling. Reach tall. Pause. Or maybe bend that arm. Reach for the opposite hip with your palm. Look up to the ceiling. Try not to lean all of your weight into your head and your neck. So use your core to hold the majority of your body weight. Bleed your way back into a kneeling frame. 4-point kneel. Bring the knees together and the feet together. Sit back on the heels. Just sit up nice and tall. Finding your seat. Maybe floating the hands behind you to interlace. Make a little knuckle. Knuckle that wall behind you. Two palms are nice and flush, and the shoulder blades and the elbows are as close together along the midline as you can comfortably manage. Then uncouple. Float your weight off your feet and onto the floor. If that feels uncomfortable, take your prop. Place your prop alongside your body and then just slip the weight off your feet and onto your prop. As you arrive on your left bum, you're going to rotate your trunk in the opposite direction. You're going to reach with your right hand for your right ankle, and you're going to just cup the left arm around the body to hold maybe your opposite thigh or your opposite hip. Keep looking over the right shoulder. Stay here, or maybe float the left arm behind you, maybe just bending at the elbow and tucking the whole limb behind your back, or maybe reaching with your left fingertips for the right bicep, getting a nice little hold. Keep looking over that right shoulder. Chin line parallel to the floor, giving you the longest spine that you can manage. Then float your head in the opposite direction so that you're looking over the left shoulder. All of the weight is in your left bum bone, and you're giving me the tallest spine that you can. Unbind. Cross your right foot over your left knee and wiggle your left foot out the way behind you so that you can ground through both of your bum bones. We're twisting towards the open side first. So you're going to hook your right elbow on the outside of your right knee. You're going to extend the arm, push with the back of your elbow against the inside of the knee, and then just use the other arm to prop your frame up nice and tall and take a gentle twist. Then take your twist in the opposite direction. This time hooking left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Reach with your fingertips as if you're trying to reach for the front corner of your mat. Twist your trunk in the opposite direction. Make sure both of your bum bones are grounded into the mat and that you're sitting up as tall as you can. Then think of uncrossing the legs. Sit up as tall as you can. Bracing into your feet. Activating the tops of your thighs so that your heels are floating off the mat, and just sit up as tall as you can. Maybe holding for a soft count of 10. We are going to roll it down from here. So make sure that you've positioned yourself towards the top end of the mat with enough room to play. Place your padding in position. Let's begin with the bent leg. Nod your chin to your chest. Look towards your belly button and peel down as slowly as you can. One rib, one vertebra at a time. Control through the core. Hands floating at about shoulder height. They don't tap the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale slowly as you can. Root through the feet. Squeeze through the inner thighs. Sit up nice and tall. Use the whole exhale to peel down with control and keep looking towards your belly button as you roll down. Inhale, halfway lift just off the shoulders. Then use the rest of your exhale to peel up into a high seat. One more from the bent leg. Then drag your heels along the mat, extend the legs, and do your next roll down with an extended leg line, trying to come down as slowly as you can. Make sure that you're even through the shoulders and even through the pelvis, both on the roll down and the roll up. So get a sense of whether you're throwing your body weight and trying to rely on momentum. If you are, try to use your core and not the shoulders to peel down. So it's that hollow frame that almost depress through the chest bone that's bringing you down with control. Then float your legs into a little V. Heels together, toes softly splayed up. Softness in the toes, don't claw. Nod your chin to your chest, peel down with control. Don't rush, I want you to give me slow and controlled. Inhale just off the shoulders. Exhale for the rest of the movement. Make sure you've activated your inner thighs. Reach long through your toes and then reach past your toes with your fingertips and stretch into the lower back. Inhale to peel up. Exhale to nod your chin to your chest. Roll down. Last one. Inhale just off the shoulders. Exhale to reach through your fingertips and your toes. Squeeze your inner thighs together and take a little forward fold. Last roll down just to come onto the back, and then we're going to find our way into that little star shape on the mat. So once you have connected to the mat, just slip your padding up. Find that star frame on the mat. Start with a neutral spine. Then think of giving me a little modified hollow hold. You're going to tuck your tailbone into the 12 o'clock position. Feel your lower back imprint. Pretend somebody's thrown a beach ball at your belly and you've gone oof around the ball. Find your hovering star position. This is your start. Exhale, tuck into a little ball. Inhale to float back to your hovering star position. Keep playing with that movement dynamically. Keep your star hovering off the floor so you're not allowing the arms and the legs to flop back down. You're keeping that work in the core. Play with your breath pattern, but keep the breath moving. End in a little tuck, and then set up your bridge line. Feet and knees hip width distance apart, arms relaxed at your sides, spine in neutral. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position, imprint your lower back, find that contraction in the core. Lead with your tailbone as you bleed up into your bridge line. Find the apex of your bridge, nice and high on the shoulders, chin tucked towards the chest, hips even first on both sides. Then dip your right hip bone, come back to neutral. Dip your left hip bone, come back to neutral. Dip both together, halfway drop, come back to neutral. Dip right, neutral pelvis. Dip left, neutral pelvis. Dip both together, halfway drop, back to neutral. Let's do one more set. Slowly as you can, articulate back down, leading with the back of your ribs, almost hollowing out the belly. Find neutral. Scoop to peel up off the shoulders, holding. Soft pause here, cores working, weight off the shoulders. Let's bring it into a single leg stretch. Float your left leg into table, finding your brace and extending the right leg at 75. Then begin to cycle through. Two more. We're going to come into a resting recovery and we'll take it straight into a double straight leg stretch. Legs looking up to the ceiling, head and shoulders on the mat, bracing actively into the feet, halfway drop, bend the knees and cycle back to your start position. You know where you're going to this round, so try to move with more fluidity, more control through the lower abdominals. Keep your head and your shoulders on the mat and make sure you're not transferring the work into your neck and your shoulders. So you're using the lower abdominals. Last one. Scoop to peel up off the shoulders. Hands tucked behind the head. Mimic your leg position one, bending one leg and extending, but then rotating on the diagonal through the trunk as if you wanted to bring the knee towards the opposite armpit. Last one, you're going to come back into recovery, legs floating up to the ceiling, halfway drop, or this time maybe hovering just off the floor before you cycle back up to the ceiling. Keep your head and your shoulders on the mat, keep your core working. You're going to give me two more, and then we're going to find our way into a little scissoring pattern. Legs looking up to the ceiling, scoop to peel up, hold onto the back chain of your left leg while scissoring the right leg open, playing small or big, keeping that scoop position, lower back and mid back imprinted, weight off the shoulders, about 2 fingers of air between the chin and the chest. Let's do two more sets. And then we'll find that little active recovery, double straight leg stretch, floating both legs up towards the ceiling, halfway drop, bend the knees and cycle back up, trying to keep the work in your lower abdominal area. Keep your head and your shoulders on the mat. Last one. You're going to end with a bent tabletop leg line, scoop to peel up off the shoulders, bracing around both knees. Open up the arms and the legs into V, and then tuck back in. If you need more work, swim the arms around before tucking into your little ball frame. Last two. We're going to end in that little tuck. Connect your head and your shoulders to the mat. Maybe give yourself a little cradle rock. You're going to think of morphing from here into rolling like a ball, racing around the shins or behind the thighs as you round out your spine. So pretend somebody's pushing on your sternum, hollow out your belly, round out your back. Allow momentum to carry you back as far as your shoulder blades and back up. Give yourself enough runway to play. And then maybe morphing to cross at the ankles, holding onto the feet while keeping that little ball frame. Maybe every time you rock up, tucking the feet underneath you and almost thinking of wanting to fold forward. On the last one, you're going to tuck the feet underneath you. You're going to roll the weight onto your knees and you're going to bleed your way back into 4-point kneeling. We're going to find a little down dog stretch. Tuck your toes under, float your bum up to the ceiling, settle into your down dog. Try to hold the stretch. Forging almost a little triangular frame between the arms and the legs, trying to anchor down through the heels as best you can. Stay here in your down dog or find your way into elephant by walking your feet half a foot to a full foot space forward and grounding through the whole foot. Push the weight back as if you were trying to bring your chest towards the knees or the top of your thighs. Pretend somebody's pulling your hips back so that you're really feeling that awesome stretch. Then maybe walking your hands back towards your legs and coming into a soft forward fold. Maybe hands on the mat, maybe hands on your shins or the top of your thighs if the floor is not too friendly today. So just play where you're comfortable. And then we'll bring it into 3 roll downs from a standing frame to end off the class. So soften through the knees, lead with the back of your ribs to come into a high kneeling stack, a high standing stack, stacking your ankles, your knees, your hips, your shoulders. Nod your chin to your chest, hollow out your belly, peel down 1 vertebra at a time. Taking your roll down as far as you can, take a recovery inhalation and then use the whole exhale. Lead with the rib cage as you hollow out the belly over a big ball to restack and realign your body. Let's do that one last time. Nod your chin to your chest, peel down with control. Keep that parallel foot line. Think of the restack of your body as you come back into a standing frame on the mat. Find that stack, belly to spine. Float your hands to prayer and end off your playtime today. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me. Hope you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Shoot me your comments below. Make sure your notifications are on. Be ready for playtime on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.